Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report. Wherever you get your podcast, you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, the AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now on Jaden Daniels talking about what it was like replacing Joe Burrow at LSU. I'm going to read some of those quotes in a minute because I think they're kind of interesting. Also, I just wrapped up a few minutes ago another private session with the Gold members, giving 40-minute nice chat there, and so I always enjoy those. If you want to become a Gold member and participate in those chats, I answer every question you have, and I definitely am going to bring on more guests as well to answer some of your questions, and just whether it's about their playing days, about the current team, whatever it is. Anyway, you want to do that, go to the Empire Media YouTube page on your laptop. You'll see the word join on the page, and you click on that and you go from there. So join us for some chats and see what you like. Anyway, that's it from that standpoint. Now today I'm just going to give you kind of a little bit of an practice update, just kind of going over a few items to get you ready for this game and just some things that are going on with the Commanders. A lot of Jaden Daniels, but some other stuff as well. So let's start with Johnny Newton, because it's not really necessarily news, but he's a guy that people are going to wonder about. And he played 12 snaps last week, and Dan Quinn said he was on a pitch count, so to speak, a snap count. He's going to play more on Monday, and did not practice on Thursday, but they do plan on playing him more. He feels like, first of all, it was his first time playing. Like, he did not play in the preseason. He barely practiced in the summertime. He did not practice at all in the spring. It's an awful lot to ask somebody to go out there and do it in their first game. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about him in my 5 Things podcast on Sunday. But suffice to say, they're going to play him more, and I think he's a guy that provides a lot of energy. I do think it's someone it's going to take a minute for him to get up to speed. Again, he just hasn't played. Like, I'm going to go back to, not just with him, but some of the other stuff too. Like, certainly in hindsight, I think there's some more guys here that could have played in the preseason. I think those joint practices are wonderful, but I think when you have a new team, there's always that balance between you want to get them healthy. It's a long season. But it just feels like, man, these first few games end up to be like, they're not preseason games, but this is when they're really starting to learn about who they have on their roster for sure. Anyways, but Johnny Newton, it wouldn't have affected him. He couldn't play, but he is going to play a little bit more on Monday night. How much more, I don't know. I think the other question is, what then, because on Sunday, they didn't want to make Jamin Davis active because they wanted more defensive tackles because of Newton's pitch count. Well, the guy they brought up from that, Carlos Watkins, got claimed by Dallas off the practice squad. So I don't know what they're going to do there. My thing would be you need to make Davis active. I think he's one of your better guys. I think, is he one of their stars on defense? No, but I think he's a guy that can help, and that speed can help. And I think so much of it depends on, do you think that Newton can play 20 snaps? It's a good difference. So if they think he can, and my guess is like that would be the next step, then you keep Davis active, and it gives you a little bit more speed on the field at times when he's in the game. And so I think listen, if you're trying to get that quarterback down, you want guys like that around running, especially in when it becomes a scramble situation. Like, he's a guy that can close very well. So anyways, that's what I would think will happen, but we'll see. Now, let's get to some of the topics today. Is Jaden Daniels. And one of the things, the story I wrote, I told you, is about him replacing Joe Burrow at LSU. And I think it was really, it's kind of, to be honest, to me, it's an instructive story on who he is, because now, granted, it came 2 years after Burrow left, but when you're going there and you're 2 years removed from a national title and a guy that won the Heisman Trophy and went number 1 overall, you have to have a lot of confidence going to a place like that and playing in the SEC, but you also have to have the confidence that whatever comes your way, you're not gonna buckle. And he told a couple of us this, that, so here's one of the quotes he had in the story. He said, "It was a crazy experience. The fans were very spoiled of what Joe did. They were looking for the next. My first year, I played really well, and it still wasn't enough for the fans. Coming back, I was like, okay, I'm not going to care what anybody says, and I had the year I had. You've got to earn the respect of people, but to come after Joe, it's not easy at all, man, not at all." And yet he did it. And he came back. The first year, it's funny because Burrow had 16 touchdown passes his first year at LSU. Daniels had 17. So it's not like Burrow came in and did the same. They were kind of the same thing. And they were both, after that year, they would have been both probably considered mid-round picks. In fact, Mel Kiper told me that he had talked to Daniel's mom, Regina, multiple times and just convinced her like he needs to go back. And she heard that same message from a lot of other people. And he said, to her credit, she listened. So he comes back, and that's when he takes off. But it says a lot to me about how somebody handles a situation. And this is one of the things that Washington liked throughout this whole process, that they got to see Daniels get put in situations that revealed something about him. So you have him starting as a freshman at Arizona State and playing the way he did. And then you have him transferring to a much tougher conference, and then excelling, but also having to learn a new playbook, learn new teammates, and then follow a guy like that. Like it's not easy. And again, it wasn't a direct follow, but that was a standard that was set. And then if you're getting some heat after your first year, then it's going to be like, okay, well, how do you respond? Well, he responded by, the virtual reality work, the 5 a.m. workout sessions, et cetera. So that's why I say it reveals a lot about how he handled them. Their journeys were different. Burrow didn't play at Ohio State, so there was less known about him when he transferred to LSU. And me as an Ohio State guy, I knew that he was considered a good player and a really good competitor. I did not expect him to explode the way he did. We just never saw him at Ohio State because he got the 1 year where Haskins was the main backup. He was the main backup in part because Burrow broke his hand in the summer. So, but I always wondered as a fan there, like why after that, Haskins came in the 1 year and had a really good game against Michigan as a backup coming in and helped him win the game. But he wasn't automatically named the starter the next year. I'm like, well, why is that? What's going on? Well, a lot of it was because of how Burrow competes. So point is, like, he came in there a little bit differently, whereas Daniels came in there with a little bit more hype because he did more at Arizona State. And to his credit, he figured it out in that last year for sure. And one of the things that was a difference for him that last year was just even as offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock would talk about this, how like the first couple of years, the first year was like first read, second read, go. The next year, after doing all the film work, the VR stuff, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, now go. That's a big difference. And that's why I say when you're looking at how he's in the NFL, and yes, he's taking off, but I do think he's going to get to that point because I think he understands the importance of standing in the pocket. And I just think it's a matter of getting comfortable with the NFL speed. And you can do all the VR stuff you want, but it's different on the field because they're going to kill you. And, so I think some of that is that, and just see, but that's the level of progression. But that's, like I said, there's a lot to learn from their journeys from there, but also the way he handled the position and the success he had. And he, the one thing he does not lack for is confidence, but he's not, and he likes to trash talk, but he's also not arrogant about it to me when it doesn't come across that way. And I've seen other guys who it has come across that way. But I don't think he did that. So, and he said, like, listen, halfway through his last year, the fans there accepted him because of how he responded. So that's always a good thing. The other thing I like that he talked about today on Thursday was somebody was asking just like, he's rolling the team or whatever, and other guys and et cetera. And he said, I'm just here to take care of my 111th. And I love that answer because, again, it speaks to who he is and the mindset he has. He's never come here and said, I'm here to be the savior or the face of the city, as perhaps maybe some others have in the past said that to others in the building. He did not do that. And I think that's why teammates like him. We all know what he's here to do. We all know that, and he knows he's a smart kid. He knows what he could mean to this franchise, but you don't need to verbalize it. You just need to go do your job. And I do think when here's the other thing too, I do believe, his job could include making big plays. That is part of the job. And I think he gets that, but it's like, he's not going to put that above somebody else's job. It's just, that's his role. So you do your role. If your role is asked to throw for 300 yards, that's your role. And you don't, and I think he takes that to heart. So I think that's I think it's a good thing. But again, I've told you this before. He's a very mature young man. I think that constantly comes through in these interviews and in the press conferences, et cetera. I think you're starting to see his personality come out more and more as well. And if you watch some of the press conferences, it's coming out, and you see him in the locker room, the way he interacts with so many guys. That I think there are some guys who just like being part of a team. I think that's him.
TD. Tutty, taking it to the house. Whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KEIM, that's code KEIM, K-E-I-M, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
One of the other topics always is going to be Terry McLaurin until he gets a lot of catches. 8 catches now in 2 games, not a lot, and not for a lot of yards too, right? The question is he going to get the chances? Well, the one thing I'd go back and look at the first game. And I think some of this isn't meant to knock Jaden Daniels by any means. It's more to see like their opportunities there. And I think as the more time they get together, the more they're going to have those opportunities. And there was the deep ball that was missed, and there was the slot fade that I think as Jaden progresses, and it could be very soon. Listen, I could see him throwing the way it played out, it's better to throw a back shoulder there. Well, they've done that in practice. So now you've seen in the game, like, oh, okay, that's what it looks like the next time. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he gets a back shoulder fade, a back shoulder throw, Monday night, right? Because I think that's a quick study. I think he's a quick study with that. And I think you'll see it on that. And then there was the other one there was a seam ball against the Bucs that could have been a big play as well. That I think the more that Daniels plays and the more experience you get, the more things you see, you may pause just a little bit more to wait for that to see how the safety indeed reacts, because I think I've told you before, the safety on that play, he reacted in a way they did not anticipate. So Daniels was right with this thought, and that, well, typically the safety is going to do this. I'm going to look over here. Well, the safety reacted differently, and that left McLaurin open down the seam. Well, in the future, I think then he's going to take that shot, or he's going to see that a little bit, maybe linger just a little bit longer and see that, make the play. So my point in that, the only thing I'm saying that is not, again, not on Downs, it's on Terry McLaurin. Is he available for more plays? And the answer is yes. And I think I think the other day, the game plan clearly was to for a lot of passes, the line, because of the pass rush, and just get the ball out, get some tough yards, and just move the chain. So kind of that extension of the run game a little bit. And the Giants were going to make sure to take him away. And there are a couple of times where they definitely rolled the safeties to him. But I think they're going to be okay, because they had, again, I think I've told you, if there had been issues this summer with him, like, I'll be honest, like Jahan Dotson did not look good when he was here, and you watch him playing for the Eagles, like, well, didn't see it, but you saw it with McLaurin and Dotson. So I think they're going to get there. So that's not one that I'm really ready to worry about at this point. The other thing that Dan Quinn talked about too, and you start to look at the formulas for winning, and one of which, of course, involves turnovers. And they've done a really good job protecting the ball, and he has done a really good job protecting the ball. And that's one of the things, going back to McLaurin, that Quinn even brought up, or that Daniels even brought up. Like, they're well aware of, they want to get the ball to him. What I like, though, is it's not a forced situation. They're not forcing the ball to him. And I think that's a good thing. And so, like, that's a mature thing too. Like it'd be easy for a young quarterback to come in here. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to get in the ball. His job is to move the chains, and however you do that. And so I think like that's something that I think should be applauded. That okay, they need to get it to him, but he doesn't need to force it either. And I think that's what I like. There was also, like, if you remember the second play of the game, where it was a swing pass to Robinson with a play I don't think Robinson's necessarily the first read. I think McLaurin on his little hitch inside would be more the read, but they took that away. So he makes the right decision. And on the backside, De'Ami Brown was open. I think as he progresses, that's probably where he'll go as he gets to see more and more defenses. But I think the point is, the way the Giants kind of rolled that, they were tight on coverage on him in that zone, and it allowed, he opened it up a little bit for Robinson. Not a huge gain, but it was the right decision on that side. So anyways, I think he'll get the ball eventually. That's kind of the point. And then I'm going to be talking, one of the things I'm trying to poke around about this week is like what's going on with the defense, and how much of this is an issue, how much of this is just newness, et cetera. I'm going to talk about that on Sunday for my 5 things I think. So join me, make sure you join me then. Noah Brown, that was the other topic that came up today. And part of it is, there's a couple things too. One thing that Dan Quinn said is there's still be kind of an all hands on deck for that receiver position beyond Terry. Terry's their number one. Beyond him, it's going to be a hodgepodge of what do they need, what works here, what does this guy do well, let's run this package. That's what they're going to be doing. So, but Noah Brown, what he showed is he can make plays. So to be honest, like he's almost like a better version of a Cam Sims, because Cam Sims could play special teams, he could block, and he can make some plays for you. I think he's a better version of that. And I think they're gonna benefit from it, because you just saw it the other day. He put a nice move on the corner to break free on that 34-yard at the corner. He sells like he's going to go deep. The corner starts to turn, or get to the outside, and it's like he stems and comes back inside. Just a nice job by Brown. But one thing that Quinn likes is that he likes that he's aggressive and he really attacks the ball, and he's strong. And so I think that's going to be a good thing. So the other thing that Quinn talked about today too was just he feels like Brian Robinson is an elite competitor. And I asked him, why do you think that? Like, what is it that you saw? He thought that coming in here. He keeps going back and referencing that the surprise to him is that he catches the ball as well as he does. Now, the funny thing is, like, I think if you've been around, you watch it, like we knew he caught the ball well, because that's something that the previous staff talked about when he got here too, that, hey, this guy catches the ball better than you think. Well, and so I think Quinn saw that as well, because we haven't seen it a ton in the games. But he did talk about the competitiveness that he has. And like, well, where did you see that? Because he said that coming in, he loved that. Well, what he saw was what his journey was at Alabama, and how he had to sit behind some talented guys, and he stayed. And maybe in this current climate, maybe he would have transferred, but he stayed, and he earned his spot, and he turned himself into this, and he's a solid NFL back. And he could be more than solid this year too. So, but I think that's one of the things that jumped out as well. So.
Hey, it's Bram Weinstein here, voice of the Commanders, and of course, frequent guest of this podcast, The John Keim Report. I wanted to let you all know that my show, which airs at 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on ESPN 630, is now exclusively produced by Empire Media, my company, and is going to be distributed through our network. So I'm asking you, please, if you subscribe to this show and love this show, give mine a try as well. Subscribe to the Bram Weinstein Show wherever you get your podcasts, and many of the shows and many of the elements that are in the show will be available on the Empire Media YouTube channel. We're going to talk a ton of Commanders and other DC sports. Check it out.
One thing to note for Saturday, I'm going to have an interview with Ben Baby, our ESPN reporter from the Bengals, talking about some of their thoughts on Jaden Daniels, and also an update on what are the Commanders facing in the Bengals. And then over the next couple of days, I'm going to play a little radio clip from the LSU play-by-play guy, Chris Blair, talking about Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, and just for a few minutes, but I'll play that at the end of one of my segments. So anyway, folks, that's it from me. Appreciate you tuning in, as always, and I'll be back on Saturday with ESPN Ben Baby talking about the Cincinnati Bengals and their thoughts on Jaden Daniels and Washington. I'll talk to you next time.